Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Mindful Elevation Caribbean. I hope you had a good day today. On this show, it's a show of being mindful, where we bring all topics related to mindfulness, how to elevate yourself, educate yourself, and how to continue moving forward by working on you and giving attention to you. Before we continue the show, I would like to let you know that today's show might be a little triggering for some people. It might bring up recent traumas or old traumas. So, if you think that it may bring up old pain and a hurt, feel free to log off. We will not feel no way. We prefer for you to take good care of your mental and emotional well being first. So, if there is a topic as well that you would like, as a viewer, that you would like to share on the Mindful Elevation Caribbean show, feel free to contact us. And also, would like to remind you that this Wednesday, the Unity and Solidarity TV will be talking about the life and legacy of Mr. Elrich von Putten. This you can listen and keep the Facebook page Bakari Makure in check to see whenever he having another show. So let's dive in. This month marks 5 years that we went through Hurricane Irma, and that in a lot of the Caribbean island left a devastating impact. A lot of people suffering from traumas because of that, and especially during this time, mentally and emotionally, they going through a dip, and for some, even the trauma of going through Irma hurricane comes back up. And also, additional to that, today is Caribbean Mental Wellness Day, so even more suitable to be talking about this topic. It's not only important to be able to take care of work, business, and our family, but it's also important to make sure that your mental well being and your mental state is as good as possible. That you have ways to distress, to talk about what is going on at the moment, and to be able to process the trauma. So today we're going to be talking with two guests, not one, but two guests, where we're going to be sharing how you can mentally and emotionally prepare yourself as much as possible for a different type of traumatic events, and also how you can work on you after. Remember, if you have any questions, remark about this topic, feel free to share it, and we will also address it. So I would like to welcome the two lovely ladies that we have tonight with us, Sherritza and Mila. How are you ladies doing?
Fine, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. How are you?
Good, good. Welcome to the show, and happy that you ladies are here with us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you
You're
for having us.
welcome. You're welcome. So let me start with you telling us a little bit about yourself. So who wants to start? Sharitza?
Sure. So, my name is Sherritza Peterson. I am a social worker employed at the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport on St. Martin. In terms of my professional qualifications, I have an associate's degree in social pedagogic work, a bachelor's degree in psychology with minor in child development, and a master of arts in education in counseling and guidance. It is such a pleasure to be here today to shed light on this very timely and important topic because we are now in the heart of the hurricane season, and being prepared physically and emotionally can go a long way enabling people to feel they have the means to cope and protect themselves from a natural hazard. Thank you, Amanda. I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, Sharitza. So Mila, you can
Good
introduce
evening,
yourself.
everyone. Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Milangela Francisca, but I'm better known as Mila. Everyone knows me as Mila. I I have been a school social worker for the past 12 years, and I have a associate's degree in social pedagogical work, and I also have a bachelor's degree. Sorry, I'm hearing a feedback. I also have a bachelor degree in social work. I'm very happy to be here this evening and to share my knowledge and my experiences with you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, thank you. So, we got a little background of these two ladies, and like I said before, tonight we going to be talking about how you can prepare yourself before physically, but also mentally and emotionally. So, 5 years we had Hurricane Irma that was in 2017. And when we're talking about traumatic events, disasters, there is a lot of stress coming with it as well before, during, and after the event taking place. And often we feel like we do not know what to do, how to handle, or where it will end. And then also, of course, what to expect, because yes, we know that it's a hurricane coming, but yeah, how will the impact be on the island, but also on us as an individual. So, Sherritza, tell us what the different ways that people can react to a traumatic event.
So, following a disaster, people can feel shocked, and you would hear people say statements like, I can't believe this happened. People can also feel disoriented or unable to integrate the distressing information. And once, it's also important to know that once the initial reactions degree subside, people can experience a variety of thoughts and behavior, and the common responses can be stress related physical symptoms, and these include headaches, body aches, nausea. The stress can also exacerbate pre existing medical or mental health conditions, and the stress related symptoms can occur before, during, or long after the disaster have occurred. Other stress responses include changes in your emotional state. People may feel overwhelmed, nervous, or anxious because they lost their material possession or even loved ones. People can also feel more irritable or moody than usual. And other reactions people can experience include sadness, depression, grief, and anxiety, or even indifference, where a person feels physically and emotionally numb.
Mhm.
Other symptoms people can experience is heightened sensitivity to changes in the environment. So, for example, the sight of a rain cloud forming in the sky, or the sound of a strong breeze blowing against the trees, or the sounds of sirens may trigger memories of emotion, of fear and anxiety. Other Other symptoms can include changes in our thoughts and behavior. So persons may experience repeated and vivid, clear memories of events, and these thoughts can come up, these memories can come up out of the blue, which could lead to physical reactions such as increase in heart rate or sweating. And an example can include, for example, you are washing the dishes, and all of a sudden this intrusive thought pops into your mind, and it may be difficult to concentrate and make decisions. It can also cause challenges with our sleep and eating patterns. We can disrupt those patterns, and some people may either overeat or oversleep, while others may experience lack of sleep and loss of appetite. Another another symptom people can experience reaction is strained interpersonal relationship. So increased conflict between family members or co-workers. These can occur. Or persons might also become withdrawn, isolated, or disengaged from their usual social activities.
Thank you. Thank you. And the thing is that often we're not even realizing that, like, for example, you mentioned that our eating pattern changes, or even better, that our weight increases. And we're not often realizing that that has to do with maybe the long-term stress, or even traumatic event that we went through. And we often like to put it on, oh, we getting older, or anything. So, then it's difficult indeed. In a way, we have to, like you said, we have to learn how our bodies are, and what type of changes is indeed natural and which not.
Correct.
Yeah, because
Yes.
we yeah, if you don't pay attention to that, then we can continue. It can continue harm our body, and
Correct.
then having a negative effect on us.
Yes.
So, following on that, how can people mentally and emotionally prepare themselves for major disaster?
So there are a number of steps that people can take to build their emotional well-being and gain a sense of control following disaster. But I would also like to mention that research has shown that people are resilient and over time are able to bounce back from such disastrous situations. So, in terms of the steps, I always encourage people to take life one day, an hour, or even a minute at a time. And the reason why I say this is because it allows you to process the experience and adjust to the situation in a healthy way. Also, don't be afraid to seek support from people who care about you and who can listen empathetically. During this time, you can express what you're feeling, um, and talk to family and friends. Other ways, some people use a diary or engaging in a creative activity such as music, drawing, or even gardening. And it's also important to establish and maintain a healthy support system, because family and friends, as well as members of the community, can be an important resource in providing physical and or emotional support. I also encourage persons to get to know your neighbors so that you can look out for each other, so that they can look out for each other, and also your neighbors can be a great source of social support. I have seen neighbors get together. So after Hurricane Irma, I have seen neighbors get together and clean the neighborhood. And from there, they hosted cookouts. These type of activities develop a sense of community. I've also seen persons alert their neighbors about resources such as food and water distribution sites. And these relationships can be fostered over a period of time, but it's very important to know your environment. I also encourage persons to join a local or voluntary group, because in the following the passing of the hurricane, I've seen persons get involved in community-based organization to support others, and this form of altruism can be helpful in helping people feel that they are engaged in an activity that is meaningful. So it's oftentimes the belief that in the event of a natural disaster, that people tend to become selfish, but that is not always the case. During these times, it really brings about the best in most people. And lastly, I encourage persons to engage in healthy behaviors to enhance your ability to cope with excessive stress. So this includes eating well balanced meals and getting plenty of rest. Also, if you are experiencing difficulties with sleep, you may even get some relief from relaxation activities. I also encourage persons to avoid and minimize alcohol and especially drugs, because they can have a numbing effect which could detract the person from actually processing and coping and moving forward from the disaster, and can also lead to daily struggles.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I can remember indeed when after the hurricane passed, that indeed we will go and help in the community center. People would come and help, and also in the community, you would be talking more with the neighbors than normally, or even three, four streets down the line. while before those roads were just pass, maybe hail the person and continue. So yes, I agree with you that during the hurricane, indeed, you have you can like feel more connected. And I think
Yes.
also because we don't have the electronic devices with us at that moment
That's
not working.
yes. Yes, indeed.
But before we continue talking about what all can be done or what all we have to pay attention after a disaster or a hurricane, let me talk about how we can prepare ourselves, because that is also very important.
Yes.
That
Yes.
when once you prepare yourself, it brings a little peace of mind as well.
Yes.
So let me talk about that first.
Yes. So, honestly, if you're not prepared, you're going to be stressed. There's anxiety, all of that, because you feel like, oh gosh, I still have things to do. What if this? What if that? So it puts you more in a sense of stress and anxiety, which could be avoided. So it's always important to, from the moment you hear, hey, we are expecting weather or whatever it may be, that you start to prepare. The first important step that I always like to mention is that you be aware of the correct and accurate information. Because we live on a small island, many times we listen to what other people say and we don't know the information for ourselves correctly. So we don't know the accurate information, or we know some of the information. So it's important that we track for ourselves what the correct information is. You can do so by listening to the government radio station, or your in your region, all the information that is being shared. Keep abreast, check the weather channel. It is important, and it is your own responsibility to have the correct information and not rely on what someone else says. I remember a time, I was walking in the supermarket and I heard there was expecting weather, and one person said, I'm hearing someone's conversation, and they were saying like, yes, it gone up to a category 3. And in my mind, I was like, category 3? But according to me, the last I heard, it was still a storm. So how it become a category 3? So as soon as I got in the car, I double checked on the weather station, quickly went online, check it quickly. And I was like, oh, okay, I know my information was correct. Because that also creates unnecessary panic. When it goes word of mouth, what someone says, it makes another person panic, and that person usually might not be in liberty at that moment to check it, and they might tell another person they see, for instance, in the supermarket, I just hear it's a category 3, while that is not even accurate, and it brings about so much of panic and stress. So that is my first point, is to be kept abreast on the correct and accurate information. Secondly, creating a plan for you and your family is very important. This plan should include what you will do should the house start to flood. What are we going to do should we need to evacuate? So before this, you need to know where are the shelters located? Where can we go? What is closer to my house? Those are the key important elements before you do anything else. You have to find out what is in your surroundings. And from there, you need to, if you don't have transportation, how am I going to get anywhere? You need to know the route. Sometimes people move and they might not be familiar. It's important to get familiar with your community. Where am I staying? What are the shelters? Who do I get in contact with if something goes wrong? So having a plan is very important, and every family member should know that plan. Because sometimes in the moment of panic, you might forget something. So if everyone is abreast and knows this plan, they would be able to say, hey, we forgot this, don't forget that. The plan is to do that. This plan should also include each family member. If you have a baby, you need to remember, hey, the baby needs formula, needs diaper, need this, need that. You need to go over the list of what are items that this person needs daily. It could also be maybe an elderly person that lives in the house with you. What does this person need? Medication. All the list of things that this person may need should be included in your plan. so that you know this is how you are prepared. But if you don't have these things, it only brings on additional stress. So once you have a plan and you know how to implement it, that will help ease your stress. And every family member should know this plan. Do not forget the pets. Sometimes we forget the pets. They need food. They need food. If you have pets on the outside, they need to be secured. So it is all things that you have to take into account. Another thing is the house. You need to make sure that your house is stocked up with food. Of course, non-perishable is the easiest because you don't know if electricity goes. If you have a fridge full of meat stuff, everything can go and get spoiled, because you don't know how long the electricity will be gone. So having non-perishable items is easiest. Water is the most important thing. So you need to stock up on water. Again, you have to remember that it's not only you, but it's the whole entire household. The same thing I said, pets also need water. So you have to take all those things into account. So if you're going to fill up water for the pets or whatever, you need to remember them as well. Batteries is things that we need to remember. Flashlights, everything we have to check before to make sure that it's working. It can be that maybe you were so busy you didn't get the chance to break up the work. You don't have to do everything. If you consist in a family of 5, you give everyone a task. Please check this. You do this. Check if the flashlights are working. How many candles do we have in case something happens and the flashlight isn't working anymore? How many candles do we have? You count the candles. Get the children involved because children know more than we think that they know. So give them simple tasks. Go and count the candles. Let me know how much candles are there, and this way you can prepare better. A working radio is also very important. That is the way how you keep in touch with the outside of your surroundings. So the outside world, what is happening outside of your house. You need to be kept abreast. What are the developments of the weather? You need to know this. On our island, St. Martin, it is usually Laser 101. That's a station that we all are advised to listen to. So they will keep us abreast as to how the storm is changing or what is happening. So it's important that you follow and track this. So a working radio is very important because you can't rely on online because at that moment you might not have internet, the no electricity, and it is important that you have something that is battery operated just in case if there is no electricity. Your passport, your ID cards, your insurance cards, all of these things are things that you should have in a Ziploc bag. So, should you have to evacuate, that it's already there. I like to think of it as it's always easier to have a bag should you need to evacuate. You have items beforehand because during that time you're not going to remember. I remember when I was younger and we experienced Hurricane Lewis. At that moment, you ain't thinking of nothing. When the roof goes, you just need to get out. So if you have a bag there ready that, hey, if I need to run or anything, I just pick up the bag, my passport, ID, everything is in it, should I need it. So that is one of the points for sure. And we need to be mindful that storm changes daily or hourly or by the minute. So we need to keep abreast of what's happening. Then another point is to go around your house. So securing your house. That is very important. You start on the roof, of course, making sure that your roof is strong enough, checking and looking around for holes or if something needs patching up. You have to close your shutters. If you don't have shutters, bar up the windows, close them up. Of course, remember to leave your door, the exit door, available should you need to evacuate. You can't bar up everything, close up everything, and then you can't get out. So it's very important to remember that. We always say it's important to have on one end of the house a little window that's open so that the breeze can flow through the house and avoid creating pressure within the house. So a window on one end to open and a window on the other end a little bit open to allow the air to pass through so that it doesn't push or force the house to take off the roof. Something that's very important when I look at around our island of St. Martin, we keep a lot of debris outside. It's important to clean it up. Don't wait for the government to do it. especially if it's in your yard, your area. It is important to clean up around your area before a storm, because all of these things can affect your own house, where it might damage or hit into something or hit someone else's house and create unnecessary damage. Okay, and don't forget your plants. I'm a plant lover, so of course you have to remember your plants. Move your plants around those that are in pots. Put them somewhere where they are secure, because of course when there's a hurricane or a storm, it can start flowing and blowing everything all over the place. Okay, so that is a point for sure. Remember to stay abreast, get the proper facts. I continue to say this because I know in small communities how people just listen to what the other person is saying. Another thing is limit your exposure to negative comments, negative news, negative reports, verbal rumors. Try to minimize that. Also around children. If you have children, it's important that you don't create unnecessary stress and panic, because of course that will then negative cause trauma. Maybe they don't even understand what's happening, but because of things that you're speaking around them, it can also cause trauma to them. Make connections, talk to them, explain them what does a hurricane sound like. You're going to be hearing winds, you're going to be hearing things throwing down, but we are inside, we are safe, so you need to prepare them. So it's not only about preparing the house, it's also about preparing each family member individually. This is what is going to happen. Even elderly, if they are dealing with maybe their own trauma, or maybe whatever illness they might be having, you have to have a plan suited for them. If someone is in a wheelchair, where are we going to go? How are we going to get out? All of those things are things that we should think about. So communication is very important. Also letting loved ones know, hey, this is how we're going to be keeping in touch with one another via WhatsApp. But after a while, you might not be able to reach me, and just listen to the website, listen to the radio, so that you can hear, what areas they're talking about, so that we can find out that we're safe. It is something scary because you don't know what is happening on the other side of the island, or what is happening right next door to you. You might not be able to peep. So it is a bit scary, but once you have a plan in place, it can alleviate that stress. Remember to maintain as much as possible a proper routine, meaning don't go skipping breakfast if it's not something that you normally do. You have to try to maintain healthy lifestyle. As Sherritza was saying, maintain a healthy lifestyle. Try to stay in a routine, especially for children, because you want to create a calm environment as possible. There are so many things around that's happening that you will be out of control of, but that is something you can try to minimize the amount of stress in your surrounding.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
those are, thank you. Those are very good tips and things to remember. You gave a very extensive list. Thank you
yes,
for that.
yeah,
And the thing is, like we mentioned before already, it isn't only things that because we're living on an island or maybe St. Martin things to use here, but you can use those tips and tools everywhere that you are
yes,
whenever you're thinking that okay, a major disaster is going to take place. Those are
right,
things that everybody can keep in mind to try to use them. I
yes,
Ramona,
like, yes.
I just wanted to add to what Mila just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing your community councils, as each
yes,
district has its own community council, they are a valuable resource in also
yes,
providing important information, especially for distribution of resources. So knowing your
yes,
community council is also important resource, not only during the hurricane season, but throughout
yes,
the entire year, because they share information that is relevant to the community, stuff that would benefit you. So definitely knowing and being a part of your community council.
Yes, correct, correct. That's important, being part of it. And I also like what Mila was saying about creating a plan and involving everybody, and
yes,
especially also the children, because like you said, oftentimes we forgetting that.
Mhm.
children, they have a mind of their own as well.
Right.
So the same things that we as grown up can go through, they can go through it as well. So at least it gives them a sense of, okay, I'm doing something, I'm helping to put this plan together, and it
And having that in place, Ramonda, also helps the children to be more calm. It helps the children be more calm, knowing that, hey, I have a role to play in this family. I have a role to play. I know what I have to do. This is my role, and it would make it a lot easier for them to follow through. Because,
mm-hmm,
of course, remember, as parents, we are humans first. And before anything, we're a human being. And stress can make you react in ways that you don't want to. And at that moment, maybe your house is falling apart and the children don't know the plan and they're running up and down and cause you to react or scream or shout or get more upset at them.
mm-hmm,
But they have no clue and no knowledge of what is really happening. You see the danger, but they
correct,
don't. So involving them in the
mm-hmm,
plan and explaining it to them that, listen, this and this and this are things that can happen, but at this moment we need to work together to make sure we're all safe. It helps
mm-hmm,
them also to be more calm and to understand that, hey, this is a moment to be on our alert. And
mm-hmm,
if our parents say we got to run now, it is no excuse. We have to run now. So it
yeah,
has to be made very clear in the plan
mm-hmm.
who has to do what and what is expected of each person.
Yes, indeed,
Yes.
indeed. And then I remember that during or before the hurricane, I was kind of like stocking up on water because that was the only thing I was afraid of. So my water
Run out.
finishing and me not being
Mhm.
able to drink because
Right.
I don't really care about food. So I kind of like, okay, yeah, let me get some food
What?
items. But my
Yes.
water for me was really, really important.
Yes, yes, water is important. We can live
Mm-hmm.
longer on water, so of course it is important to stock up on water. And
Yeah,
of course, if you're a family of four, five, six, whatever, you have to take into account each family member need to drink.
that's
And
right.
maybe at that moment you might not feel thirsty, but then maybe make tea or drink something. You have to keep your body hydrated. So
Mm-hmm.
because your body's already going through stress and your mind, you're tired mentally, physically, so you have to try your best to drink water.
Correct, correct.
Yes.
So, we're talking about what we physically can do, and you mentioned it yourself as well, Mila, about the stress. It can create all type of stress,
Yes.
anxiety, and everything. So, let me talk about that. What can be the long term impacts or effects of a disaster or a trauma?
So, some of the long term effects of trauma, well, or it doesn't have to necessarily result in trauma, but can cause it if not addressed. Some of it includes personal uncertainties. So Mila just mentioned that people may feel physically and mentally drained, exhausted. Those are normal. Those are normal and uncommon experiences. Also, loss of home, business, or income, and that can cause person to lose their self esteem. So all of these, by from personal uncertainties, can cause that. Also, unresolved emotional issues can also come arise. So that you're already experiencing a problem, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden this adds to it. Another thing is anniversaries of the disaster can remind us of our losses. So that these are very important. These are very important effects, long-term effects that can happen. Another, I mentioned earlier, the strained family relationships. So the relationship can become stress because everybody's emotions, they are raw, and conflict between spouses and other family members may increase.
Mhm.
Also, when homes are destroyed or damaged, families may have to live in temporary houses or with relatives and friends, and this could lead to overcrowded and added tension because people now all of a sudden you are accustomed to having your own space and now you have to share the space with somebody else or maybe share resources, or you may have a person who may have already been struggling financially and now have to take care of others, so that can cause strain.
Yes.
Also, you may have family members or friends had to move out of the area, so that social support you had before is now gone. Parents may also be physically and emotionally unavailable to their children because they are busy cleaning up, they're preoccupied, they're distracted, and this can also lead to strained relationships. Parents may also become overprotective of their children and their safety because it's like they're on edge. I have to be safe. That can also cause strained relationship. And children too as well can experience distress because they may be expected to take care of roles such as watching siblings or helping with the cleanup effort, leaving less time to spend with their friends. Another part, important aspect, is the work disruption, because people may have lost their job or have to or experience reduced working hours, which would reduce their income, so that can also cause stress. And also the daily travel and commute patterns may be disrupted, so maybe depending on your type of work you have to travel a long distance, however the road may be blocked off, so that can also cause distress, especially if it's the type of work that you do. Persons can also experience financial worry, so worrying about, will I be able to live the kind of life that I'm accustomed to? Will I be able to provide for my family? And also seeking financial assistance to rebuild your home. Persons may not have the money to
Mhm.
rebuild their home, and that the added stress of these unplanned expenses can cause stress. And one thing I experienced too on the island was that many people did not have home insurance. So that caused distress in people because now all of a sudden they were confronted with both the high cost of having to rebuild their home, along with the already high cost of living, which added additional stressors as it placed strains on their already fragile resources, not only socially but economically.
Yeah, yeah. As
Another
a
another point to add to Sharita,
Mhm.
sometimes people have such a hard time picking up the pieces after everything has happened that they don't know where to turn to. They just numb to everything. They're just quiet. They just don't know. They don't know what to expect, what is going to happen to me, and they're kind of walking around as an emotional zombie, because they just don't know anymore of all the uncertainties. Like Sharita explained, they just remain numb. So that is also a long-term effect that they just don't know anymore.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I find too that yes, it's a difficult time, and you don't know what effect it might have on you as an individual, but also as a family. Having gone through a hurricane, a major disaster, it would be best if, maybe in the Caribbean, but the whole world, if we learn as well that we have to be communicating more with each other, trying to share what is on our mind, what we think, how we would like to have things done, because then during a time like that, at least you have your spouse, your partner, your family, that you can sit and talk with each other, as in, okay, how are you going to continue? Okay, we lost a job, but and then how are we going to build ourselves up? How are we
Yes.
going to handle with the children? We don't have a house because unfortunately the hurricane broke it down. How long we going to take to build it up? What do we need? And that, along with all that the two of you have mentioned, it help as well to ease the stress is a little bit, because then you know that okay, you have a support system, you know which steps you would want to take, how you would want to do it. So I find the communication, like you guys mentioned, is very, very
Yes.
important.
Yes.
Ramonda, just to
Mm-hmm.
add to that, it is not always doom and gloom. You have situation, especially in disaster, it brings out the best in people. And you may
Oh
see
Yes.
yes.
situation where people ended up getting married because they
Mm-hmm.
went through this situation and they supported each other. So you have these types of situations. You may see creative ideas come about, new businesses. So while it's a horrible experience, you have a lot of creativity and positive stuff that and growth that also take place because we are
Yeah,
resilient people.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for
Yep.
highlighting that, because indeed it's not only gloom and doom, indeed, because
Right.
yeah, and you also have your indeed happy moments in between, and
And
we have to appreciate that as well.
yes. And
So
what
that's
what also was realized here on the island, for instance, it wasn't after hurricane, but for instance, during the pandemic, there were so many people planting, growing stuff, sharing
mhm,
harvest with each other, talking to one another. Does anyone want this plant? I remember I got so many plants from people, and like, hey, everyone was trying something, you see, like people were really doing something. And that is the same thing that can be, done during the hurricane, where people, it helps pull the people together within the
mhm,
community, where you go, you talk, you like, hey, I have this, I have that, and create that, like I've always heard from my parents back in the days, how it used to be such an exchange, hey, I have this, this is for you, and then someone else, when they have, they will give you something. So yes, that is also indeed, some happy things, even though they experienced something that was not so happy.
mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I remember indeed we trying to plant, wasn't always growing the way we wanted it, but at least we were trying.
Right. 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 Yes,
That's the
indeed.
beauty of it. Like you said, you're learning new things about
Right.
yourself, things that you thought you couldn't do, you were able to
Yes.
do now.
Yes.
So yeah, that is
Indeed.
it. That's
Indeed.
true. So
Hmm.
okay,
Yes.
so we kind of like mentioned it already that I guess because we Caribbean people, we don't really talk and we don't really share. So how we can continue working, especially because we social workers, we counselors, we therapists, how can we continue working to make people aware that working on your mental well-being is important, and that it's not something to look bad upon.
That's a very good question.
Hmm.
I think that there needs to be a paradigm shift in the way that mental well-being is viewed. It is often believed that mental health is something abstract, it's something up in the air and it's not tangible, or that these type of discussions should occur in the office of a psychologist. But our mental health is just as important as our physical health,
Mhm,
as what goes on in the mind also affects the body. I believe that people are already working on their mental well being, but they just don't have a name on it. There's just not a name on it. For example, I think about the passionate discussions at the barbershop or salons. I think about the neighbor visiting another neighbor and chatting on the porch, or a family going to the beach, or even alone. I also think of men playing domino in the community, or grandparents shelling peas with their grandchildren while sharing key life skills or talking about their own life's experiences. These are all activities and perfect opportunities, I believe, to talk about disaster preparedness and make it a part of our daily lives. So I believe that it is there, but it's just not, we just don't have, and we just don't place a name. a name to it, and it's a part of our life.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
would like to add that honestly, seeing for how long I've been back on the island after completing my studies in Holland, St. Martin has opened up more to talking. I remember in the past it was like a taboo. You don't talk about stuff, but I do see parents making an effort saying stuff, children talking about stuff, adults to each other talking. And I do find that we come a long way. Of course, there are still more that we can do, but I am very appreciative of the steps of how far we have become. There can be more emphasis on the mental health, the emotional health can be better. Everything can always be better. However, I am grateful for the steps that we have made. Um, in reality, all people have different way of coping with disaster or trauma or stress or anxiety or whatever they experience. You know, some people take the negative route, they go into drinking and alcohol and drugs and those things, while others be more positive about it. But I always say talking about the trauma or whatever the experience you have will help. You know, connecting with other people within your neighborhood, talking within your neighborhood, within your community, between family, friends, you know, just connecting to people, it helps. It helps. Coming back to the plan, what I discussed previously, it is important that after the disaster that you evaluate that plan. Hey, what went well? What didn't go well? That is something that many times we miss that point. We don't evaluate to see what went well and what didn't. So then we repeat the same mistake over and over. We say verbally, by the next time I'm doing this again. And then the next time it happens, you repeat it because you did not actively sit down and evaluate the plan. Now, you made a plan
Mm-hmm.
including people. This means that you have to evaluate including these same people. Hey, with the
Yeah.
children again, what did are you find went good? What was your experience? Sometimes, you know, the adults in the family, they might get help or seek help for themselves, but they forget the children. You know, it's important also to follow up. What was your experience? How did you feel? Well, and when you drive around the island and you say, look at this, look at that, you talk to them. What are you seeing? How does this make you feel? Express your feelings, tell me, but make it this a discussion that they can talk. And then you can go back to your plan. What do you find that we could have done differently? Not because they are small, they might not know. They might say, next time I want to be in charge of the bag because we forgot the bag, for example. So it might be a simple step, but involving everyone helps you to evaluate this plan accordingly. And once you evaluate the plan, you update the plan. And it's better that you do it right away because it's all fresh in your memory at that moment. And then you say,
Yeah.
okay, the last time we didn't do this, so should this happen again, this is the new plan. So
Yeah.
evaluation of the plan is very important for future disastrous events that might occur.
Yeah. And like
Yes.
you
To
said, when
add
you
to
do it
Mila,
as a family, it makes your family stronger too. It creates a
Right,
stronger bond as a family.
right, right,
to
right.
add to Mila too as well, is especially when working with children, it's important to make sure that the information you share is age appropriate too as well, because children process information different depending on their age. So maybe a
Yes.
young child may not be able to articulate their feelings or their experience, but you can give them a paper and they can draw, and from there you would be able to pick up as a parent exactly what their experience was. Also for young people too as well, social media. So maybe they may not be communicating with you directly, but
Mhm.
checking their posts, you will be able to ascertain how they are feeling. So there are
Right.
different ways to achieve the same goals.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's important that the finding different ways to
Yes.
communicate indeed, and not that your way of communicating is the only way of communication.
Right,
So
right.
that was indeed an important thing, and evaluating the plan afterward, because we often forget that we're making our
Mhm.
plan and we either execute it or not execute it, but then afterwards we don't go back to the plan and
Yes,
see what went well or
that's
what
right,
we can
right,
do differently.
right,
So
right, right,
it is very
right.
important.
Indeed.
Okay, so we have been talking, we have been indicating what we can do physically, but also mentally and emotionally when it comes to preparing for a major disaster. Do you have any tips or tools that you would like to share with our audience?
Can I go?
Of course, yes.
Yes. Okay, good. Now, something that I always, based on everything that we spoke about today, we talk about how it can affect a person, the trauma, the experiences, the stress, the anxiety. Something that is, I'm going to say it as simple as possible. Once you realize it is affecting your daily lifestyle, it is affecting you as a person, seek help. If you realize talking to friends, family isn't working, it's still taking a toll on your daily function, your daily routine, you're feeling traumatized all the time, you feel anxious all the time about it, seek professional help. It is very important. Get to your house doctor. Let your house doctor know how it is affecting you daily, where you can get a referral to a psychologist. And then, of course, we don't get along with every and any person, and that is okay. It's okay to say, I don't feel like I'm clicking this so well with this psychologist. Maybe I need to try somebody else. And then you might try someone else and it works. So it's important to build that connection so that you can talk freely about what you are experiencing. So once you notice it is affecting your daily lifestyle, your daily routine, you have to seek professional help.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
That
Sherita,
is
you have any?
that's a very good point to seek professional support where needed so that you can get the help you need to rebuild the life.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another Another helpful tip I thought about was restructuring your thoughts too as well. So for example, in the past, I remember when I used to hear the sounds of sirens, be it police, ambulance, or the fire department, I used to wonder what happened and if the person would be okay. And that would literally increase my stress levels. So I decided to change the way I thought about the situation by telling myself, when I hear the sound of a siren, it means that someone is receiving the help they need. It doesn't change the situation, but it gives you a sense of peace. So,
Mm.
very quick, but and strategy to help us, especially when you receive these intrusive thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Those
To
are
also
very good
add
tips. Go ahead, Sherita.
to Mila, because she was mentioning earlier about being prepared and having a backpack that you can travel with too as well with your essential items. Another helpful tool could be to create a happy bag too as well and fill it with things that help you feel grounded. And some of the items can include your favorite scented candle, particular type of clothing, books. Some people have like a smooth stone or non-perishable comfort food. And for children, a stuffed animal, board games, coloring books, anything that helps them to feel happy. That also goes away in improving our mental health. And
Yes.
also, Mila Mila mentioned earlier was scrapbooking, I believe. You can use your creativity too as well to you do scrapbooking, or you can have a picture. I know we are talking to an audience from all over the world, so St. Martin is a very beautiful island. So one of the things that gave me a sense of happiness was to the see the trees regenerating leaves, see the flowers blossoming, hear the birds chirping, hear the chickens cockadoodling, and dogs barking. These are things that help or can inspire you to see that, hey, my surroundings is rebounding, and so can I. So but if you're in a situation where that is not the case, keeping a picture of something that reminds you of that happy place could also contribute. And also music. So if your device is charged and you want to listen to music or even sing, these are all helpful ways that contribute to our mental well-being.
I would like to add that on the internet you can find so many tools that can assist you. you know um, when preparing for a hurricane, you might forget what all to have. Something as simple, for instance, as a plaster. You might not remember that. You could run outside, get a cut at a moment, you need a plaster, a bandage, or something. Those are things that you might not remember. But going through a list of items that you need to prepare during a storm or a disaster or whatever, it is important to do your research. Go online, because we have that accessible to us. So make use of it. Go online, start to look up what are things that I may need. Create it as a checklist, so that I'm not saying you have to buy all the items at once, but what can help. Hurricane season, for instance, is here on the island from, well, we say from the summertime. You understand, but it is more active in September time. For instance, okay, from January, I'm going to start to buy 3 items off of the list at the end of the month, because reality is we have many people living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. That is our reality here on the island. So it might be difficult to purchase all items all at once. But if you break it down into smaller groups, so you find this list, you break your list down to smaller groups, and you say, okay, in January or February, these are the 3 items I'm going to get. The following month, I can breathe better, so I will buy 6 items instead. The month after that, I'm going back to 3. And like that, you start to stock up and fill up your list of things that you find important to you and your family, of items that can be necessary during a storm, hurricane, or whatever natural disaster that might be happening. So it is important to go online and find this list that is suitable for you, because there's so many. So you look through it and see what suits you and your family best. And from that, break it up in groups and start getting to work and buy your stuff bit by bit, so that by the hurricane season, you are mostly prepared. And all of that helps with the stress level, with the anxiety level, because you would feel confident, like, hey, I got this. I am prepared. I know what I have to say. I know what I have to do. I have all my things in order. I know what I'm telling my family. I know how to address them. I know what to say. I know what to do. I'm coming in prepared, instead of just, okay, guys, we sitting together tomorrow. Listen, it happening. This is what we're going to do, because that stress and anxiety that you're feeling is spread within your family. So once you are prepared and you have your items in place, you will be more calm and relaxed. And when you're sitting with your family, to sit calmly and say, hey guys, we have the items, we are ready, we are prepared. Should anything happen, this is it.
Yeah.
So that is a tip that I would like to just shoot out there, to go online and look for what works, what is the best list that works for you and your family. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, ladies, because you ladies have been giving really great tips and share information with us. And I'm sure there are people out there that have been listening and making notes of all what they have to do, so they can be prepared for this type of event. So, it's like you said, it's important to know how to keep in check with yourself and also with your family. Have everything or majority of the things in order. Prepare yourself, and also look for ways how you can de-stress after, how to communicate with your family. So, ladies, thank you very much.
Yes.
It was very insightful, very informative. So before we close off, you would want to say anything? You have anything to say before we close off?
I would just like to tell everyone thanks for having us this evening. Remember to start on your plans. Remember to get your list. Those are the two key points that I would like to pass on is to get your list on the go and to start your plan. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I would also like to thank everyone for tuning in this evening, and I hope that the information is meaningful to you and your families. And also to prepare. Preparation is a process. And as you work to prepare for your home, your family, your business, pay attention to your mental well being because it is just as important. So, with that said, I would like to thank you all for being here this evening and thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies. I would like to thank you as well for accepting the invitation, for sharing your knowledge that you're having. And audience, if afterwards you have any questions that you would like to ask, you can just send it, and we will more than gladly reply to them. And then, so this was the end of the show for tonight. Thank you again, Mila and
Yes.
Sherritza.
You're
And
welcome.
then
You're welcome.
and then in 2 weeks, we will be back with another show. So tonight, we wanted to deviate a little bit because it's 5 years that Irma passed, and also because it's Caribbean Mental Wellness Day. So we wanted
Yes.
to do this special show. And then in 2 weeks, we are back with our series, all things women related.
Yes.
So thank you again. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and till the next time.
Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye.